Yellow.
Blue. Then only.
So in resistance, whenever we see the practically when
Violet.
we see a resistor, so how many bands are there generally?
I'm 4 bands.
Four.
Okay, so primary
Four.
band, secondary
Four.
band, then multiplier band, and one more is a
Then
tolerance band.
yes.
Okay, so maybe tolerance may be there or not, but minimum three bands are required. So if it is the 1 ohm resistor, so what will be the value? And you know, the first band can never be a black color. There's a rule in first band, it will not be a black color because black represents your zero, digit zero. So first cannot be your black color. So for 1 ohm, what will be the uh, color band?
Brown.
Brown,
Brown, black,
Brown. Brown.
brown,
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 black,
black,
brown, black,
Black.
and third band will be, there must be third
black,
band, black,
Black.
brown, black. So
Gold.
as per you,
Ma'am,
this
brown,
is
black, and gold.
brown, black, and gold. Yeah, yeah. So brown color represents one, black represents zero. And if you say it is third one is also black, then multiplier band, it will be 10 to the power 0, 10 to the power 0. So its value is 10 ohm, not 1 ohm. Okay. If it is brown, black, and gold, then brown will be 1, black will be 0, and multiplier band, the gold will be 10 to the power minus 1. So this will be 1 ohm. So sometime in the third band also your gold color can also be there. Also the silver color can also be there. So gold value is 10 to the power minus 1 if it is present in the third band, and silver will be 10 to the power minus 2 if it is in the third band. Gold silver is generally present in the tolerance band, but sometimes it is used in the your multiplier band also. Okay. And what is voltage division rule? Do you know voltage division rule?
ma'am, KVL.
Yes.
Hmm? Suppose suppose one voltage V is there, and two series resistors are there. So let's say R1 and R2. So what will be the voltage across this R1 and what will be the voltage across R2?
Ma'am, it
R1
will
and
be
R.
V by R1 plus R2 into R1 for
Yeah.
first one, and for V
Yeah.
by R1 plus R2 into R2
Yeah.
for second one.
Yeah, this is the voltage division rule. This concept will be used everywhere. Many circuit analysis we will do. Here, voltage division rule will be applicable. Okay, so the total voltage into that resistance divided by your total resistance. Okay, likewise, what is current division rule? If two parallel resistors R1 and R2 are there, okay, if two parallel resistors R1 and R2 are there, and if you have one current, let's say I here, so what will be your I1 and what will be your I2?
Ma'am,
I1 is
for
equal to
R1 it will
R1
I
be
plus
into
for
R2.
R2,
R1 it will be
I
I
into
into
R2,
R1 plus R2 by
I1,
R1.
I1
R1 plus
I1
R2.
into
yeah,
R1 equals I2 into R2.
yeah. I2 is
I
equal to
R1 in
I R1 by R1 plus R2. So opposite resistor into total current by total resistance. Okay, and this Kirchhoff's current law and Kirchhoff's voltage law, it is all known to you. Kirchhoff's current law means incoming current is equal to your outgoing current, and KVL means your loop voltage will be zero. Okay,
Zero.
so this is your Kirchhoff's voltage law. So these are very preliminary things you know, and it will be useful for your further study. And derivative integration, these things no need to discuss, so you know it. So what is the derivative of sine, cosine, all these things. Then material in the properties of your solid, what is conductor, insulator, and semiconductor. Okay, so basically your electronics means we can say that is the mechanics of electron. Mechanics means always it is related to the some movement. So electron movement of your electron is studied in the electronics. That is the mechanics of electron. We are saying that in the semiconductor we have the concept of movement of hole as well as electron. But is the hole is a practically it is existing? Whole is just the absence. Please mute yourself. Okay, so holes, what we are saying that holes and electrons are moving, but theoretically we are saying that hole is also moving, electrons are also moving, but practically hole is not a physical thing. Hole is nothing but your absence of electron. So if one electron is there, then that electron is, if the electron is moving, then that place, that vacant place is your hole. So the position of your hole will change. Actually, hole will not move. The position of your hole will change. But theoretical analysis, we all throughout our syllabus we will discuss that hole is also moving, and we are considering hole as a moving element, also the electron as a moving element. Actually, practically the holes doesn't move, but it is only the position of the hole will change. So, but for the theoretical analysis, we'll assume that hole is also a moving element like your electron. So,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes.
Someone is again kicking out students from here.
Let me manage the
Please
permission.
take control over them. Do not.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you people are now in the graduate level, undergraduate students, not the 12th school student. Okay, so now we are expecting from maturity from you people. So don't do this kind of things just like your school student. You are disturbing other students, or you are removing someone or adding someone. This type of activity is not expected from you. Now you are undergraduate student. After uh, just 4 years, it's very small span of time. After 4 years, you are going to handle a lot of responsibility when you enter into the job sector. So maturity is expected from you people. Okay, so we have several components of electronics. So we will study the electronic components. So basically, we will start with the generalized components. So basically, the components, all the components are divided into two types. One is, we can say active components, another is your passive components. So have you heard this active and passive components? This concept?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So all the resistor, capacitor, inductor, diode, transistor, all these are called as your components. All these are called your component. And also we operational amplifier. Operational amplifier, op-amp is actually a circuit, but it is practically, if you see, it is available in the form of a IC, like integrated circuit. So in op-amp, usually we have it. Op-amp means it is one amplifier, which is some with some modification. It can be used. It can be made. It can be made in such a way that we can use that operational amplifier for various operation. Like your if you want to add to signal. Subtract to signal, multiply to signal, take the logarithmic of a signal. All these things operation can be performed through a operational amplifier. So it is available in a compact form in a IC structure. So just like a one IC, if it is a IC, actually this op-amp is a 8-pin IC, small IC, which is available in the lab for various experiments. We will use that. So we can consider this op-amp as a component also. So all these are components. So all these components can be classified in two types. One can be active components, another is your passive components. So those components which require some external source or external power to work, those components are called as active components. Like if you remember the operation of your diode, if you take a PN junction diode, simply you just take a PN junction diode. Do you have any type of operation in that current or voltage can you find in the diode? It will do we use that without giving any supply? It require biasing. It require biasing. When the diode will be forward biased, then it can be used for current conduction. Okay, if it is reverse biased, then it can be used, the very little amount of current will pass through it. It can be used, if it is a Zener diode, it can be used for other purpose. So it requires external power or external source for take it for making it operation. So this type of components which take external power to switch on, or we can to operate, these elements are called as your active components. So also these components which it can produce energy from the voltage or source. So these are also called as your active components. For example, your diode, transistor, then various components, op-amp, then silicon control rectifier. A lots of examples of are in the electronics are there, which are called as your active components. And in the passive component, we do not require external source or external power for operating it. Like resistor. In the resistor, we don't require any external source for its operation. If you simply take one resistor and just connect it to the end of your multimeter or ohm meter, the resistance will be displayed in your device in your measuring device. We can measure the resistance. That means it has the what is the function of resistance? It will oppose the flow of your current. So some resistance value will be there. If it is 1 kilo ohm or 2 kilo ohm or 33 kilo ohm, like that, the resistance value must be there. So that resistance value can be obtained without connecting it to an external power also. So it can be called as a passive components. It will not generate any type of energy, or it will not store any store or maintain energy in the form of voltage or current. So these are called as your passive components. So for example, diode is one active component. So we require the biasing in the diode. It may be forward biasing, reverse biasing, like that. Transistor is also an active component. In the transistor also, until and unless we will not provide any external DC voltage is required in the transistor, then only when we provide a DC voltage of, it may be 5 volt or 12 volt of DC voltage, then the transistor can be operated and it can be ready for any other operation. Suppose you want to make a amplifier circuit. So in that amplifier circuit, amplifier means it will amplify the signal. Okay, so when we are discussing about the electronics, we always come with the word signal. Okay, so you have to understand what is a signal and what is its requirement. Okay, what is its requirement? I will just after this active and passive, I will give you a brief idea about the signal. So any signal, if you want to amplify means we have to increase the strength of the signal or amplitude of the signal. So it will be a AC signal. Okay, if it is an amplifier circuit and we have to give one AC signal. AC signal means it will be in the form of a AC, alternating waveform. So at the output also we require the same AC signal but in the amplified form. So this amplifier main operation or main function of this amplifier is to amplify the signal. But so here some AC voltage, some suppose 20 millivolt AC voltage we have to give, and we will get, it may be 30 millivolt or something we'll get. But to operate this amplifier, we require one external DC supply, which is usually denoted as a VCC. It may be 5 volt DC supply or 12 volt DC supply. So this transistor along with some circuit elements, it will be the amplifier, but as the transistor is one active elements, we require some additional power to give the transistor so that it can be operated or it can be used as an amplifier circuit. If in any circuit, it may be amplifier circuit, it may be some kind of signal shaping circuit, or it can be some other purpose also. If you are using the amplifier, they are also always required a DC supply. So when we connect a diode in the circuit, in a particular circuit, if you connected diode with the supply voltage, the diode will not conduct until the supply voltage will reach to its minimum value of your that junction voltage. Like in case if you are taking a germanium diode, it will be 0.3 volt. If you are taking a silicon diode, 0.7 volt. So the diode will be conducting the you will get the significant amount of current in the diode, or we can measure the current in the diode until just when where applied voltage exceed the value of your junction voltage. Okay, so what is junction voltage and how it is biased, all these things is there in detail, we'll discuss. So the diode can, without this required amount of voltage, the diode cannot be operated. So it is an active component. Like in the passive components, simply you to take a resistor and put in a circuit without having any type of external source, it can be work. So this resistor, then your capacitor, then your inductor, all these are passive components. So physically the diode looks like this. When you come to the lab, we'll see the diode, we'll use the diode. So this will be the physical appearance of the diode. So the silver line, it is actually the negative side or this cathode side of the diode, and this other side is your anode or positive side of the diode, or we can say this is the P side, this is the N side of the diode. Likewise, this is the transistor, physical appearance of this transistor. This is also one kind of component. This is called silicon control rectifier resistor. So this is also one 3-terminal device. So these are the physical appearance. So resistors will look like this. This is the inductor. So winding is there. So these are the inductors, capacitors. So when we come to the lab, we will be acquainted with these components. Okay. So coming to the different types of diodes are also there. So symbolically how it is represented, simply PN junction diode, if you are representing, then it will be just a triangle with a bar. This is the symbol of your diode. This is the P side, this is the N side of the diode. Okay. And other diodes are also there, like this is the Zener diode. Symbolically the Zener diode is used, represented like this. And this is called the Schottky diode. This is called the tunnel diode. This is light emitting diode. This is called photodiode, varactor diode. A lots of variation of diodes are there. But in your syllabus, you have to go for the normal PN junction diode and Zener diode. We'll discuss about this Zener diode and normal PN junction diode. This Schottky diode, tunnel diode, all these things are used basically in communication purpose. Whenever the circuits which are made for the transmitter or receiver, in that case these diodes are applicable. And light emitting diode, nowadays all of you are acquainted with light emitting diode. When we are making the diode forward biased, it will emit some light. So LED, all of you know, it is used as a display device, or it can be used as any kind of operation wherever indicator is required. We are using the LED. And photodiode, it is just the opposite of this LED. That means when light falls on the diode, it can be it will conduct the current. So photodiode is usually used wherever we want to store the energy, like suppose in the solar panel. This photodiode concept is used. When light falls on the junction, then current conduction will be taking place. When light will be off, it will not conduct. So this is the photodiode. And varactor diode is, it is also called as variable capacitor. So this diode operation will be used like, it is like a variable capacitor. Variable resistor, it is the fixed resistor. If this symbol is there, it is a fixed resistor. And if this kind one arrow is there, that means it is the variable resistors. So in case of variable resistors, there will be a range of resistance. There will be a range of resistance. So like if it is the fixed resistor, its value is fixed. Suppose this is 1.2 kilo ohm resistors, means its value will be always 1.2 kilo ohm. But if it is the variable resistors, there may be some range will be given, like 1 to suppose 2 kilo ohm. That means this resistance minimum value can be 1, maximum value can be 2 kilo ohm. So likewise, capacitor can also be fixed capacitor and also the variable capacitor. So this variable capacitor, this diode can be used as the variable capacitor with some specific arrangement or specific construction will be there. So that will be used as a variable capacitor. So this can be used for specific operation. So in general, for this scope of this course, this PN junction, normal PN junction diode, or it is also called as your crystal diode, that we will study its operation as a rectifier circuit that can be discussed in detail. And in one more type of diode, that is the Zener diode, we will discuss how it works, how it can be used for a voltage regulator circuit, how its characteristics, all these things we will discuss about the Zener diode. Okay, so one more thing I will okay, these are some physical components. So physical components of different type of diodes, how it looks like. So this is the Zener diode. You should identify at least these two diode, normal PN junction diode and this Zener diode. So these two things we will used in our lab also. We have to do the experiment and we have to study the characteristics of this diode. So try to join in time. Okay, already it is 9:33, so you have to join in time. These are the initial class, that's why I'm allowing. Otherwise, after 5 minutes, I will not allow in the class. Okay, so try to be in time. Otherwise, you will just attend the class, will not get anything. So, okay, so we are, I was saying that in everywhere we will discuss about the signal. Okay, so you must have some idea about the AC signal or DC signal. Okay, AC signal and DC signal, these two things you should know. So, so what a signal is, all of you are having that idea. We are saying that signal transmission, or we are not getting the signal in our mobile phone, we are not getting the signal is poor in our TV. That things are in a day-to-day type. We are saying that everything is signal. So how can you define a signal? Can anybody define a signal?
Ma'am, a signal is a EM wave basically.
Electromagnetic wave.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, anything else?
Response given by any component.
Yeah, anything. You both are correct. So anything can be a signal. Okay, like
Ma'am, that of anything that carries information with it.
yeah, that anything carries information, or it can be vary with one or more independent variable. Okay, any physical quantity we can say, or it can be any variable which is any things which will vary with some independent variables is called a signal. For example, I am teaching you, and you are able to listen my voice. Okay, now we are in the online mode, so through the electronic media my voice is coming. But if yeah, Ishan Gupta, you are again and again disconnected. Okay, so but inside the suppose it is the offline class, you are sitting in the classroom and I am in front of you, I am saying something. So obviously my voice is going to you and you are able to listen my voice. So this is also a signal. So this is called the speech signal. Okay, this is called the speech signal. And like suppose you just you are looking something. Okay, so in the blackboard we are writing something, and you are sitting in front of the blackboard, and you are able to look that you are able to see that writing, and you are able to get some information. So that is also that visual information, whatever we are getting, that is also the signal. Like suppose without okay, so these are some kind of signal. Suppose just I'm not saying anything, I will just raise your hand to indicating for a particular person. That means you understand that when I want to say that, you just stand up without saying anything. Also I just move my hand in the space from the one point to another point. So you understand that I am I want that you have to stand up. So some information you get from my movement of my hand. So that information can also be reached to you. That is also a signal. So any time in the world, anything, whatever it may be the speech signal, it can be a sound signal, it can be a image signal, it can be a video, can also be a signal, temperature can also be a signal, pressure can also be a signal. All these physical in the real world, whatever you are looking, all these are signal. So that signals when you want to process or we want to transmit somewhere or we want to extract some extra information from that we need to process the signal. Okay, so every physical things, all these things are called as your acoustic signal, which are non-electrical in nature. Okay, actually when you come to the theory part, when we always say that signal means we represent this as a this kind of things or some this kind of thing, this can be a signal. So this is the representation of a signal in a diagrammatic form. Okay, but actually when in electrical or electronics media, when we discuss about the signal, we discuss about the voltage or current. These two things we discuss as the signal, voltage signal or current signal. Okay, when you come to the practically the electronic domain, all these things are voltage or current. Without voltage and current, we don't know anything. Okay, so all this signal, whatever the physical real world signal or acoustic signals, like your various type of signals are there: one dimensional signal, two dimensional signal, three dimensional signal, various dimensional signals are also available. Like, can you give an example of one dimensional signal? One dimensional signal means your signal values will vary with one variable. One variable. So this signal will be the one dimensional signal. Suppose we are measuring the temperature of this room throughout the day. Okay, so we will take the time interval. Okay, and at this time interval we will measure the temperature and we will get a signal. Okay, so this is the signal value, just signal value vary with time. So this is a one dimensional signal. Okay, like suppose you want to represent your image. Okay, you capture the image and you represent the image in a printed paper or something. Okay, it may be in a printed paper, it may be a soft copy also. So when we take an image, in that case, what will be the signal, whether it is one dimensional or two dimensional?
Two dimensional.
Two dimensional, because because each point of that image, which is represented with the position, okay, x coordinate and y coordinate. So it requires the position x, y, okay, and its value. Its value means its value will be its the intensity of this point. Okay, intensity of this particular point, that will be the value of that point. Okay, so this intensity value will be depending upon two dimensions, that is x position, also y position. So this is a two-dimensional signal. It may be your gray image or black and white image. It can be your color image also. When we represent the color image, this intensity value will be represented by three components like R, G and B. Okay, but this is the color image is also a two-dimensional image, but this representation of this intensity value will depending upon the three different channel. It is called as multi-channel image. Okay, don't get confused that always image is two-dimensional. It may be your grayscale image, or it can be your black and white image, or it can be a colored image. Always the image means it is a two-dimensional image, two-dimensional signal. Okay, two-dimensional signal. But if it is a color image, we can say it is two-dimensional signal, but it is the multi-channel signal. Multi-channel signal. Because here the value of the intensity will come from three different channels. Means we require three different sensors which will sense our red color. One sensor will sense the red color, another sensor will sense the green color, another sensor will sense the blue color. by sensing 3 different color and taking its combination, it will have the intensity value. Okay, so this colored image is also the 2-dimensional multi-channel signal. Can you give an example of 3-dimensional signal?
Video signal.
Video signal. So in the video signal, we'll have multiple images, but images are also already 2-dimensional. But when we represent the image with time, okay, when we take the set of image and it will vary with time, then it is the 3-dimensional signal. 3-dimensional signal, which is the video signal. Okay. So these are basically signals. So whatever the signals are there, all the signals need to be, when we come to use that signal in our to operate something or to have the some analysis of the signal or something, we want to process the signal or we want to work on the signal, then we need to convert this signal into electronic form. Okay, or electrical signal, we can say electronics or electrical signal, we can say direct. In that case, electronics and electrical both are same because will represent in terms of your voltage or current. So how this will be represented? This non-electrical signal or acoustic signal, this non-electrical, these are called as non-electrical signal or acoustic signal. So how it will be converted to your electrical signal? In the electrical signal, so there are yeah, there are certain what we can say that those are called as a transducer. Transducer means it will convert from non-electrical form to electrical form. So various sensors are there which will sense the physical quantity and convert them into the electrical form. Okay, convert them into the electrical form. Like suppose, for example, your voice signal. Suppose your voice signal need to be represented in the electrical signal. So when we are producing the voice signal, how it is producing? It will create. It is creating some pressure. Okay, so just take the example of your microphone. Okay, you just take the example of your microphone. So when the microphone is used, the microphone is nothing but a transducer, or we can say the microphone is having a sensor. Okay, the sensor, that is a pressure sensor. So that will sense the pressure of your air expelled through your vocal cord, and that microphone will convert that pressure into electrical form. Like suppose this much of pressure, X amount of pressure, it will be represented in suppose A volt. Y amount of pressure, it is B volt. Likewise, we will get various pressure, various voltages will be represented, and all these voltages can also be plotted, or it can be represented in the form of an electrical signal. So here it will be the voltage, here it will be the pressure that is represented. So we can represent this voice signal in the form of a electrical signal. Likewise, for every kind of signal will have different type of sensors are there. Okay, so when we come to the image signal, in that case we'll have your camera is also camera is the sensor. Okay, your camera is the sensor which will sense the pictorial appearance of the particular object, and it will represent in the image form. So image can also be signal. So we have to represent the signal in an electrical form. And after representing the signal in the electrical form, then we come to whether it is the analog signal or digital signal. So you know what is analog and what is digital. Analog means basically the continuous domain signal. Continuously, if you are representing the signal, it is the analog signal. And what is digital signal? When we have to digitize the signal. So when you go for the computer operation, or when we operate something on the signal which is in the digital devices, in that case we require the digital signal. Digital signal means it must be represented in the 0-1 form. Okay, so because your computer will understand only this 0 and 1, so we have to represent this continuous signal into this 0-1 form. So this will be your analog signal, this will be your digital signal. So when we go to the digital electronics part, in that case we will discuss how this analog will be converted into digital form, that we will discuss. So now for first initial 3 modules we will deal with the analog signal. We will consider the analog signal and we will operate it as the amplifier, oscillator, whatever the things we will discuss. Okay, so when we are representing the signal, it is represented by its characteristics, will be represented by its frequency, phase, amplitude. All these things is known to you. So what is the phase of a signal, frequency of the signal, amplitude of the signal, all these things. So yeah, so now we will have okay, so next, just to brush up your idea about the materials. So this insulator, semiconductor and conductor. What is the basic difference between insulator, semiconductor and your conductor? So see, insulator, the band gap is very higher in between your valence band and conduction band. So it requires more energy to move the electrons from your one band to another band. So that's why insulator will not conduct. Okay, and semiconductor, and in case of your conductor, they are just overlapped or the band gap is almost zero. So it can be easily conducting. And in case of semiconductor, the band gap is very small, so which can be overcome by external energy. So this semiconductor can be used as a conductor also, and also it can be used as an insulator also. So this conductivity of semiconductor can be vary with the applied source. So this is the basic advantage of semiconductor. That's why we are in the electronics. We're using the semiconductor for various components and various devices. Okay, so you know what is the example of the best example of your conductor, your insulator is your diamond. So where you just see that the what is the energy required for this overcoming this band gap. So it is 530 kilojoule. So it is a very higher amount of energy. It is not possible to give that to the electron to move from this band to this band. So it cannot be used as a for the conduction purpose. So diamond is the best insulator. Like your silicon or germanium, which are the semiconductor. Okay, which are the semiconductors. So in case of semiconductor, basically we are using the silicon and germanium, but more semiconductor materials also there. Okay, so in silicon the band gap is 106 kilojoule per mole, and in case of your germanium it is 64 kilojoule per mole. So basically this silicon and germanium, these two are mostly used as the semiconductor in our scope of the syllabus. So just we have this this part of the periodic table which are having the semiconductor material. So you can see that this this silicon, germanium, tin, these are the semiconductor material. And also this, if you combine this it to take the alloy of this third group and fifth group, so like your gallium arsenide, then this aluminum arsenide, indium phosphide, these are also can be semiconductor material when they are combined. Snigdh, Aditya, why you are joining now? Snigdh, Aditya, when the class is already over, why you are joining now? Okay, so this gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, these are also the semiconductor material which is used for some specific operations. These are having very good characteristics. So these are used some optoelectronics applications. These are used, and basically silicon is mostly used. So what is the reason why silicon is mostly used? You can see here, it is having very low cost and it is easily oxidized to form a silicon dioxide layer, which can be used as an insulating layer. And also if you compare silicon and germanium, the band gap in silicon is little bit more than your germanium, so that it can be used in high temperature also. So there are various advantages of that silicon. So silicon is mostly used in as a semiconductor material. Okay. Then in the next class, we'll start about the p-n junction. So p-type semiconductor, n-type semiconductor, how it is formed, which impurities are added to form the p-type and n-type, and how the p-type and n-types are combined and form the p-n junction, and about the your junction potential. All these things we'll discuss in the next class. So now which class you are having?
Maths.
Maths class.
Maths.
Okay. In that, what